Hi guys, it's Bridie and Dean back with the third and final part of our MCU ranking. So today me and Dean are going to talk about our top 5 MCU films. And I'm going to hand it over to Dean and he's going to kick it off with his number 5.
Right, so my number 5 on my list is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first film.
Right.
And the reason why it's on number 5 on my list, because I just think it's a fantastic, rewatchable film that never gets old.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it is really rewatchable. Like, I'm looking at where it is on my list, and where is it on my list actually? It's number 6 on my list, so I've got it just one place above you. So, we're very similar in our opinions on this film, I feel like. But explain a bit more why you think it's so rewatchable and everything like that.
well, I think the plot is great, it's awesome. The soundtrack behind the film is brilliant, you can't fault it. And it just got some of the best scenes and best character I have seen, because I remember when I first saw it first time in the cinema, I was like, I was a bit on the edge because I never heard of Guardians of the Galaxy. What are they going to be like? And it just ticked all the boxes for me, because the not the very first opening scene, but the second opening scene, where you go to Star-Lord and he's about to steal the what's he about to, the orb
as a kid, because that's the main one. So after when he's grown up and he's I know what you mean.
Because the first scene of that film is very emotional for me, so I kind of don't like to pay attention to that bit, but we won't go into that. But the second scene I think is fantastic, with the music playing, him just dancing along to his headphones, kicking all the little like T-Rexes creatures. I just think it's a great opening scene, and then the whole dynamic between the whole group, between Star-Lord, Rocket, Iron Groot, Drax. It just all works, and then they got some of the best scenes that I remember from that film, like the scene when they're in the prison, and Groot just picks up Rocket, and Rocket goes onto a little drone robot things, and that he's just like messing things up, and it's just a brilliant film.
Yeah, I really agree with the opening scene, like not the opening scene, but the second one where the music kicks in. I mean, I think the first one's really good as well. Obviously it didn't affect me as much as it would affect other people. But I thought that bit was really emotional and everything like that, and a good quick introduction to set up like what type of character we'll be dealing with. But yeah, I think the scene where when the music first kicks in and you see him doing the little dance, it kind of introduces everything, because it shows Star-Lord is the main character, I would say, in them films, like even the second one, because it's about him finding his dad. So even though it does focus on the other Guardians, I think it mainly is his story. But I think that one small scene introduces quite a lot, because obviously it introduces the amazing soundtrack straight away, and how it's going to be like diegetic as well. So it's like in the movie he hears it and it like pulls him through the story, and it shows a bit of comedy as well, because obviously he's kicking the T-Rexes, he's singing into the T-Rex and everything like that. And I think it shows he's a bit his like cocky type of personality, especially when Korath comes in and he's like, you might know me by another name, because it's emotional because his mother gave him that name, but it's also quite funny because he calls himself Star-Lord, and that is a bit like, even if your mum called you it as a kid, you'd feel a bit stupid using it as a grown-up. But again, that shows how he hasn't lived like a normal human life, so he would be a bit different to a human. So I think it just sets up like the whole tone of the movie, the comedy and like the emotional bit as well, with the bit before it especially. And yeah, just the soundtrack to it. Even though I must admit, the first time I saw Guardians, because I saw it twice in the cinema, I wasn't a massive fan of it.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't massively into Marvel then, because it did come out in 2014. But the first 2 times I saw it, I thought, oh, this is a bit strange. But then when I got into Marvel and I rewatched it, I was like, how could I think this is like not that good?
Strange.
The thing is, I didn't think it was that good, but when Groot sacrifices himself, it still made me
Yeah.
that still made me cry. So it clearly did have a big effect on me. Just at the time, you know, when you're not just coming out of it straight away like, oh my god, I've got to see that again. I wasn't like that at the time, but now I am very much like that. Like I could watch this 2 times, 3 times in a row, like back to back, with no issues at all.
Like another one of my favourite scenes from that film is when they're in the enemy spaceship and a load of enemies are come and attack them, and Groot just literally spends his arm, goes through like 20 people and start banging them side to side. Then as soon as he's done, he just turns around and smiles, and everyone's like, whoa, what the hell?
Yeah, because he shows a really aggressive side. Like he stabs them all and then he continues to like proper beat them. Yeah. No, I get what you mean. That scene is very funny. I just think like just thinking about it now, it moves swiftly. You've got some great scenes like the both the opening scenes, then you've got the fight on, oh, where did he fight? Oh, it's Xandar, isn't it? I'm sure it's on Xandar where they're fighting to begin with. When he goes to see the broker and Gamora's there and he's having a bit of a flirt with Gamora and then she like tries taking the orb and they're all fighting, then that's a great scene. Then you've got the breakout scene from the prison, and there's some great scenes in the prison as well, like in the introduction to Drax and all of that stuff, and finding out a bit more about Gamora, because you find out she's obviously Thanos' daughter, but you find out more about her motivations and opinions of Thanos. So yeah, I've got some great scenes. And even the escape from nowhere, that's really good. That's another action scene you've got. Then you've got the end action scene. So it's just like,
the famous dance off.
Yeah, which a lot of people didn't like. I do understand that, but I mean, suspension of disbelief, it is a superhero film.
It was very funny though.
I think it fits when you've got a character like Star-Lord.
Yeah, it does. It fits him like a glove.
What were you going to say though? Sorry.
Also, go back to the bit when you said they're on Sandora when he meets the collector, because I remember there being a really funny bit where he wants to buy like a troll doll from planet Earth, and I just thought that was really funny, because there's such a stupid thing, I think.
He leaves it for Yondu as well at the end, doesn't he? He tricks him and then he leaves it in the orb. And you can see even at the end, it's got so much setup, because it sets up Thanos, like really liking Gamora, and then Nebula's jealousy. It sets that up perfectly, and it's got so many Easter eggs as well. But it also sets up like Yondu actually being the nice guy. I mean, there's little references as well, which at first glance you're like, oh, that means nothing. But when Yondu and the Ravagers are going away and they say we should have dropped him off of air with his father like we were hired to do, and he said, and Yondu says something like, nah, probably better off now, and that guy was a jackass or something about his dad, which is even setting up Ego in the next movie. So there's just loads of little tiny details which are set up, which I think is quite interesting as well. And yeah, it's just a great film. There's like, I can't really say enough good about it, to be honest. I could go on all day. But do you have any more thoughts before I say my number 5?
Well, it's not a thought about the film, but what I really want to see in the next Guardians of the Galaxy with obviously 4 in it, I would like to see like Rocket and Groot go back to the person that created Rocket. But I love to see that duo, see the backstory of what actually happened there, because obviously I know Rocket got I can't think of the words now, but he got something turned into what he is now. I really like to see in the next film if they go more back into his backstory. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I believe there have been rumours about, I think it's the High Evolutionary who creates Rocket on a place called Half-World. Yeah, and I think there has been rumours, and James Gunn, the director, has spoken quite a lot about wanting to explore Rocket and Groot. I know there's also been rumours about a possible Disney Plus TV show which could explore the origins of them too.
That could be really cool.
Yeah, because it would give them more time to develop, I think. And it could be like a bit like a comedy show, similar to like I feel like the Winter Soldier and Falcon, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it could be similar to that, but obviously with the space sci-fi side of it as
Element.
well. So yeah, but I suppose it's all a waiting game and see where it goes. But I agree, I think that would be good. But I'm not sure if they will do it because Guardians 3 is supposedly the last one, and they set up Adam Warlock in Guardians 2, and I think he's going to be a major part. They need to introduce him in that film because he's going to be a big player in the rest of the MCU cosmic moving forward. But yeah, we'll just wait and see, I suppose. I don't have anything else to add for Guardians, so I'll move on to my number 5. And at number 5, I've got Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So I know you had that quite far down on your list, didn't you?
I did indeed.
Yeah, which I was really surprised by. But I did understand your points because you were saying it isn't as rewatchable as some other films. And at first, when I was first thinking about it, I was thinking, yeah, it's not. That's when I was just thinking about the music and just like the film overall in general. But then when I thought back to it and thought to like key scenes, I was like, no, the story is amazing. Like I can't fault the story really. The only thing I'd say is it's no fault of the movie. It's more me knowing stuff. So obviously in the comics, Bucky Barnes becomes the Winter Soldier, and that's something I knew going into the movie. So when he is revealed as the Winter Soldier, it wasn't a massive shock to me. So it wasn't disappointing, but I feel like people, first time fans going into it who didn't know the comics would have that would have really hit them hard, and I think it would have had a bit more of an impact if I didn't know. But saying that, I think Chris Evans' performance in that moment is really good, and so is Sebastian Stan. Like you can tell he doesn't have a clue who Bucky is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I didn't know that Bucky was the Winter Soldier, because as I was more of a DC fan, I had no idea who the Winter Soldier was. So it did have that big impact for me. It's like, wow, he's still alive.
Did it? So that got you quite a lot. See, that's the interesting, like first time viewers. Well, not first time viewers, but people like you said, like yourself, that knew more about DC, not so much about Marvel. So it did shock you a lot, did it, when that happened?
Yeah, it did. Because I thought he was dead from the train in the first Captain America.
Yeah, the setup, yeah. So I do think the performances there are great, and that's the only thing that I'd say that I didn't like. But again, that's a fault of my own for knowing it. That's nothing to do with the film. But then, just thinking back, I thought there's some great action scenes in this. Like the opening, not quite the opening. I even love the opening bit because it introduces that bit of comedy, and I love Falcon's introduction as well because I'm a big fan of that character.
When he's running and he's saying on your left, and then he does again on your left.
And obviously that's a great callback that comes back in Endgame. But I also love like just the little Easter eggs, and Marvel pays so much attention. So obviously Captain America's got a list that he writes down, and in different countries it's got different things on the list, which I also think is really interesting, and helps appeal to the audiences like worldwide, obviously. But yeah, I just think everybody, like Black Widow, she's probably like, this is one of my favourite Black Widow appearances, I'd say. I mean, looks wise, I think she looks really good in this movie as well. Like, it's her best style that she's had, but just character wise as well, I think she's really good. And this really elevated her and Steve's relationship, which is carried forward in Civil War and then through like Infinity War and all of them as well. But yeah, she's got great scenes like the fight scene on the boat to begin with, and then you've got the scene where he's in the elevator and he beats them all up, and then he gets on the ship. He throws his shield at the helicarrier thing and it knocks it down. And And then you've got like even the scene where Nick Fury gets shot and then he goes on a chase for Bucky. And I just like the whole espionage. No, not espionage. Like, is it espionage? Yeah, I think it's espionage. That's like spy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's what espionage means. I'm gonna pretend it is. Yeah, I like that whole like aspect of it as well. It's not just a superhero movie. It's very grounded, I think, which is maybe why it's less rewatchable than say an Avengers film or something, because that is very like it's still quite believable, because they use real locations and like have realistic reactions and stuff to the events, but it's still a bit more like out there, like a God of Thunder or like Guardians of the Galaxy or spaceships coming down in Infinity War, for example. But with the Winter Soldier, it is a lot more grounded. Like, it's all believable stuff. There could be corporations that decide to wipe out millions of people with mass weapons and things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely. Yeah,
So
I
I
do
think
agree with
it's
you.
very grounded, and even everything matches. Like the music, the score of the film really matches with like the Winter Soldier. I think he's got quite a notable theme. Like anytime I hear it, I pick up on it straight away. I'm like, that's the Winter Soldier theme. And the action in it is amazing. Like, I cannot fault the action at all. It's got a lot of hand-to-hand combat, judo, throws, and things like that. And I think they did really good with the choreography. And I think it was such a shock to me because the Russo brothers are mainly known for comedy TV series. So I wasn't expecting it at all. And yeah, it's a lot less comedic than Guardians. And even though they're both great films, it's nice to see a different aspect to it. And it completely changed Captain America's character, because before he was all about America and believing in what he does. And I think this film influences his character going forward. Like in Civil War, the events of this definitely have influenced his decision in Civil War. And even like Infinity War and all that stuff, like going against the government. So yeah,
Yeah,
I just think
because
it's a
he
great
was
film.
pro America.
Pardon?
Because he was just a pro government soldier at the end of the day in the first Captain America.
Yeah,
Then
and
yeah, then like you
believing the
said,
country. Yeah,
yeah,
and he showed him he is truly a man out of time, but it's good because he learns to adapt to the times. In this movie. Yeah, it's just a great movie. I can't fault it. But Guardians is also great. So this is going to be the hard part because
we
obviously
need to pick where it goes.
we're going to have to pick. So one of them is obviously going to go in 7 and one is going to go in number 6. After speaking about them, and now in my head I'm thinking, which one would I want to watch? I'm thinking Guardians I'd prefer to watch, just because of the soundtrack and just the excitement.
It's just a lot more, yeah, it's a lot
Especially
more
in these times as
enjoyable.
well. I think with obviously everything that's going on with the lockdown and stuff, you just want a film like that. See, this is the thing with my ranking, it could be completely different in a month. But for the time being, how I'm feeling, I feel like Guardians is the better movie. So
Just because it's not as serious, I think.
yeah, and I like that rewatchability and lightheartedness. So we'll put Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is going to be our 7th film, and then Guardians is going to be number 6. Yeah.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Perfect. And then I'm just going to Guardians of the Galaxy. Right. So moving on to my number 4, I've got Thor Ragnarok. Right. When I first started doing my ranking, I thought it was going to be a bit higher because I just love Thor Ragnarok. I always go on about it. I think as in the MCU as a whole, this film, if I had to choose some of my favourite moments from the MCU, most of them would come from here because I really like the comedy aspect of it, but not my top moment. My top moment wouldn't be from this film, but just everything about it. Like, I know it got a lot of complaints because people felt the humour undermined the seriousness. Like Odin gets killed and then it goes to being really jokey again, and people didn't really like that. But I quite like it. And what you see with Thor in further films is he tries using that comedy to hide his true feelings. It's like a way around it. And I think that's quite good because it shows he's insecure at sharing his feelings, and he thinks he's meant to be this strong god and everything like that. And he needs to put on a show to everybody, which is what he admits in like Endgame and everything like that. So I think it's good to see that he's still at this point, but he still gets a lot of character development here. Like at the end, well, not at the end, at the end, when he's battling Hela, he appears to his dad and he says she's too strong, I can't can't beat her and stuff like that. So he's admitting his defeat and not being so arrogant. Like we've seen him in the first two movies be very arrogant. So I think he gets a lot of development in this film, even though it is still hilarious. I love Taika Waititi. I love his type of comedy. And I love the team up aspect with Bruce Banner as well, like the Hulk. And I think Mark Ruffalo really gets a breakout performance in this because I've never seen him do comedy before. And I actually think he's really funny in this. And I love the design of Hulk in this as well. Like they make him look very lean and they like trim his eyebrows and his hair and they give him them grey patches a little bit. I just think he looks really good. And then the introduction to all the new characters I really like. Like I really liked Valkyrie. I thought she was interesting. I liked, again, even though it's very unrealistic in its aesthetics, especially, the characters are kind of relatable. Like Valkyrie's an alcoholic because she suffered a lot in the past, which I think makes sense. And she doesn't want to fight anymore, which you wouldn't really if all of that had happened. She's just a defeated woman, and I think that's good because people can relate to it. I mean, other aspects of the world you can't relate to because it's very out there in its design. But yeah, and then Korg. Korg is like one of my favourite MCU characters because he's just so funny. I mean,
he is well funny.
I don't think he'd be a great main character, but a little TV series with him and like Meek would be so funny. Just them doing like a road trip or something around the world. I think that'd be hilarious. And obviously he's played by Taika Waititi, the director.
How strong is he supposed to be though? Because I know in some versions of the comic books he can like go toe to toe with Hulk, but obviously in Ragnarok he's not as strong. Yeah, so how strong actually is he?
Well, this is the thing, you can't estimate things because there's so many comics, and in comics you can't really trust them either because what writers do is they just write a character as strong as they need them to be in that comic. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, that is true.
They don't have limits. It's like if they need to be able to defeat the Hulk in this one, then they can defeat the Hulk. If they don't, then the Hulk will smash them. Do you know what I mean? If certain comics, Wolverine can heal all sorts. Other comics, not a chance. It's just like whatever the writer needs, they kind of retcon it to put it in that comic and make sense somehow.
How strong would you like him to be then in the Marvel universe?
I'm not bothered. I'm happy with how he is. His size, his design. I don't want him to be a main character. I like him as a little side character. And that's it. They're for comedy purposes mainly. Maybe in big battles, but not battles focused on him. Larger battles like in Endgame and the end of Thor Ragnarok when they're battling Hela's army of undead. I prefer that. So that's great. And then I'm also still curious about Hela. I'd like to hope she isn't actually dead. I kind of want to see her return in the future. But that's just something
I also would have. I also would have liked to know how she would have further fight against Thanos. Obviously, we'll never know, but I reckon she could go toe to toe with him, especially without him having the Power Stones.
Yeah, because Thor puts up a good job, and Thor can't defeat her.
Yeah.
And it is one of them where there's obviously been loads of talks that how come Thanos didn't start his journey until Odin died. Like, it picks up as soon as Ragnarok finishes. Seems a bit strange that Thanos has started after Hela and
Odin are gone.
and Odin have both gone. Also, it's been said about Dormammu as well, in Doctor Strange. So now that he's a bit to the sidelines, Thanos decides, oh, now's a good time because these people aren't here anymore. And Ego in Guardians 2 after he's killed.
Oh yeah.
You never know really. There's so much speculation, and they could develop that, like make that into a plot if they explore Thanos anymore, like he was waiting for them to die, or they could just leave it. But I remember going into Infinity War, some people were saying, obviously in the comics, Thanos' motivation is Lady Death, because he's in love with Lady Death, which is why he kills half the universe. But a lot of people were saying they might not introduce Lady Death, but why not have the Goddess of Death? And they were saying that maybe Hela and Thanos could have a thing, but obviously that never turned out. But I always say, if you don't see a character officially die, I don't know if they're actually dead. That's what I think. And in this case, I'm hoping Hela isn't actually dead, because I quite enjoyed her and I think she could be developed a lot more. She's powerful and I'd like to see her in the future. But that is all my thoughts on number 4, Thor. So do you want to give me your number 4?
Yeah, my number 4 is the first Avengers.
Right, okay, that's a lot higher than what I've got it on my list. But if you want to go ahead and explain a little bit why you like this film so much, because that's quite, I think, that's high.
Well, I must have saw the original Avengers about 5 or 6 times in the cinemas because I just absolutely loved it. I just think it had it. For me, it was the very first film that showed how good Hulk could be. I loved the whole team up where they're about to fight because the black hole just opened and all the enemies were drawn in, and then now it's just one scene. So, oh, you bet. I can't remember exactly saying. So, we need the big guy. Can you get him out? It's like, that's the secret. I'm always angry. And he just transforms and punches that giant, like, I won't say giant, like, space whale, even though it's not a space whale. And then it just completely fall apart. And then it had some really cool scenes with how accurate Hawkeye was, because there's one scene where he goes up buildings, just shoots at arrow without even looking, and he just destroys like three enemies at once. And then it was also very funny, and then I liked the way how Captain America took charge and became the leader of the Avengers. It was just a brilliant film, and I just loved the way how they pulled it off basically for the first major corporation of superheroes.
Yeah, hearing your thoughts about it now, I'm thinking about like key moments, and I'm like, it is such a great film. I don't really think I can fault it that much. I mean, it was quite a lot higher on my list. But at the time of watching it, I was obviously quite young and I wasn't really into Marvel. It is just a great film. I'm trying to think if I've got anything I think that's a bit negative about the movie. I really like Hawkeye, so I was a bit disappointed when he's like a bad guy, or like doesn't get his full chance to show how resourceful he is. He seems a bit weak because he just gets like hypnotized straight away. And I don't think like Loki gets loads of development, but looking back on it now, from seeing things from the future, he actually did get a bit of development. 'Cause it's basically been said that he was getting controlled by the Mind Stone as well.
And he's now terrified with the Hulk. I think that was quite funny in Ragnarok when he's like, Thor's like, oh, it's my friend, look, Loki. And then Hulk just looks up and sees Loki and he kind of like shies away.
Yeah, that is great. That is a great scene, yeah. Yeah, I don't think there are any faults with it. Trying to think. I don't think I can think of anything that I dislike about it. It is a great film, but all these films are so good, which is why they're so hard to rank. But yeah.
Of course, you were introducing the first Avengers to the Stark Tower, and then now it's a really cool scene where Iron Man just flies up and his whole armor is getting taken off. And he just goes inside making himself a drink next to while Loki's inside with the trident. The only bit now I thought was a bit slow though in the first Avengers is where what's the scientist name who gets who Loki controls his mind because he builds and he throws a trident inside to try to stop the black hole from staying open. Now it's the only bit I thought was a bit slow. And that's it.
Yeah.
For another, yeah.
No, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying the other really cool scene I remember seeing is when Hulk is obviously in the aircraft and Loki gets him to turn mad and then he's just chasing Black Widow through the whole aircraft and like breaking stuff up, and then Iron Man and Captain America working together to try to keep the ship up. Yeah, it's just really good.
That is great. And I like how Thor comes in to help Black Widow, and he's not just like being arrogant and trying to fight. He's like saying to him, try and think and calm yourself down.
Yeah, and then
it is a great film.
Then Hulk Thor throws a mirror at Hulk, and then Hulk tries to pick it up and he couldn't, and he just sinking further and further into the aircraft. And that bit was really funny as well.
It is such a good film. It's frustrating that it's so low on my list, but they're just so good, all of them. Oh god, yeah, it is a great film. I just want to rewatch them all now.
Be interested to see how what decisions she will change.
I'll
from having a fresh mind.
When I do my rewatch and ranking again, I definitely think it's going to change when they're all fresh in my memory. But it's hard. It's a hard one. We can move on though, if you want, and unless you had any more points about the Avengers.
No, let's get on to the top 3, shall we?
Yeah. Oh, the big 3. Okay. I said number 4, so it's back over to you for kicking off number 3.
Number 3 for me is Thor Ragnarok.
I need to put the Avengers in our joint list. Sorry, I'm completely forgetting. I'm getting too excited here. Sorry, what was your number 4? No, number 3. Sorry.
Number 3. My number 3 is Thor Ragnarok.
Right, I've already said Thor, so I'm going to put it on the list now whilst I remember. Because I've already said it. Yeah, right, perfect. Okay. Do you want to add some more thoughts? Because obviously we spoke about it quite in depth when it was my decision. But if you want to add any more points about why you've got it here.
Well, I really enjoyed Planet Hulk, the animated film, and I like the way it did kind of reference that animated film into Thor Ragnarok, and because the reason why I mentioned that film is because, do you remember on the Gladiator Tower, they had the heads of the champion, and they had...
Yeah, that's a great Easter egg.
I want to say Billy Bason, but I don't think it is. It begins with a B, though. What's his name?
I think you're thinking Billy Batson, who's a DC character. I think that's Shazam. I think Marvel-wise, do you mean the guy with the horse face? Beta Ray Bill? Who gets another mule. Beta Ray Bill, I think it's Beta Ray Bill. Yeah, that was great. I believe it also had Hercules on there as well. Who's quite, like, obviously big in mythology as well. I'd like to see him introduced as well. Later on, I'd like to see a few more of the gods introduced in the MCU. To be honest,
that would be really cool.
Because that was a big Easter egg.
That was a big Easter egg.
Yeah, very big. So yeah, that was great, and I get what you mean about the similarities between the Planet Hulk animated film. I think especially in the design of the Hulk's armor that he wears. I think that's very similar.
Yeah.
But the storyline, I think, deviates quite a lot because obviously it's the Grandmaster, not the Red King, and he doesn't fall in love and all of that. But the fighting aspects of it, I think, were very similar.
Mm. There were what other cool scenes? Oh, I love the bit where at the very ending scene, they just basically defeated her. The Ragnarok is happening, and Hulk just quickly jumps up and goes to bash his face in, and Thor shouts, "No, what are you doing?" And it's like, "Hulk smash monster," and Thor's like, "No, we want this to happen." And I thought that was a really funny scene as well.
I think you, by the sounds of your opinions on this film and the original Avengers, you seem to really like the Hulk character.
I think I do because
Yeah, it seems that way because a lot of the points you brought up in Avengers were about the Hulk.
about the Hulk.
And a lot of this so far has been about the Hulk.
Well, I think in
It's not a bad thing
myself
at all, I'm
personally,
just saying.
no, I just think there's been so many bad films representing the Hulk. I just think it's a really good thing that the Hulk is getting represented now in a really good way. Because he's had so many bad films in the past, and now he's actually becoming a really good character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. No, I do agree, and I do think Mark Ruffalo is great in it. They've changed him quite a lot. Like in the first two films, like Avengers Age of Ultron, he's very childish. And that's developed on a little bit where he's still like a kid, but he can talk in Ragnarok. And then now he's become Professor Hulk, obviously. And I do think it'd be interesting to explore how all of that happened.
Mm.
I know there was a deleted scene as well in Infinity War showing how it happened, which I'm a bit gutted we didn't see. But it could be something again that's explored in a Disney Plus TV series or a solo Hulk movie, but they still don't have the rights back from Universal. So I think that's unlikely.
And it's really cool how they are showing the alternate versions of the Hulk because obviously, like in Endgame, you had Smart Hulk, and then there's other versions of Hulk that's not been displayed yet, like Grey Hulk from the comic books. There's just so many different versions they could do with him now.
Yeah, definitely. I am happy they've explored a few more because he can't talk and stuff like that. He is quite a hard character to develop because I mean he just smashes everything. So I think giving him Professor Hulk, I mean they should explore it a bit more. But I think that's interesting. Because obviously it gives him more character development because he's not just a brute that fights and tries beating up everything. Yeah, so I like that as well. But I mean, you seem to like the Hulk a bit more than me, I would say, based on your opinions on some of these films. Did you have any other points you wanted to make about Ragnarok though?
Well, you basically already said all the main points. I'm just trying to think of all the little things as we've not actually yet discussed. Like, I love the way how like the little pieces of rock always falls off him. Like now it's a really cool feature.
Yeah.
I like the whole when Thor's getting his hair cut off, and that was a really funny scene.
Oh yeah, I love that Stanley cameo. It's great.
Because Thor's like, I'm the god of thunder. How that you will not touch my hair, and then he's just begging for his for his not to get his hair cut.
Do not cut my hair. Yeah.
The other really cool thing I remember is where they're fighting in their great house, and then she shows a proper history of how her and Odin actually took over the realm basically, and they get told the truth behind it all. I thought that was a really cool scene, how that whole fake mirror on top of the ceiling just all came down and it showed the whole truth. That was a really cool scene.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well because it develops Odin as well a bit as a character because we don't get to see that much of it. And I think it shows how he changes as well because in the end he is ready to admit it to Thor and Loki, like he had the daughter and things like that, and it was his mistakes. And even though he doesn't really say it's his mistakes, he blames it more on her. But I think it does give him a bit more development, considering we don't see him that much in the films. And it also hints at how powerful he is, if him being alive is keeping her at bay. But I do love, like, when she breaks the murals, because then you can see where she's coming from as well. Because the thing is, if you're raised in a certain way, you are going to believe that. Like, you can't help it. Like, if you're raised as, like, I don't know, not being, like, really controversial without trying to be really controversial. If you're raised by a family that is, for example, like sexist or racist, it's going to be like, I don't condone what them people do, but on the other hand, like, it must be so hard for them not to believe that, because when you've been brought up to believe something your whole life, it must be so hard to not believe that anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I feel like it makes her character more relatable as well. And the way she fights, like she just draws out them swords, I think that's so good. I love the way she fights, and the way she puts her helmet on by running her hands like over her hair and it just forms her helmet. I think all of that is phenomenal.
See, I kind of didn't like that. I thought it kind of...
Not.
No, I just didn't like the whole look of it. I don't know why.
See, I really
Maybe...
liked it.
I just thought it looked a bit out there for some reason. I
Nah,
still
I
enjoyed
really
it, but it
liked
just looked strange.
I think it matches with her personality, how she's very like big and like, oh, I should be the queen, everybody should bow to me. I think it matches her personality of being a bit bigger than life.
Because she's like the goddess of death. Well, not the goddess of death, but she says her power is like kind of like death. Does she?
Well, she is the goddess of death, actually. Yeah, yeah, she is the goddess of death. So you were right there. Yeah, I think it matches her personality. I personally like it. Like, I love Loki's horns on his helmet. I quite like them.
Yeah.
Them god outfits. I think they're pretty cool. And I really like Thor's outfit as well when he enters the battle arena in this one. I like all the
Yeah,
outfits.
that was a very cool outfit.
Yeah, when he pulls up the bits on his helmet. I actually like him with the trimmed hair as well. I mean, I love the long hair as well, but I also like the trimmed hair. I think Chris Hemsworth's just good looking, so he pulls off anything, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it is a great film. So that was your number 3. My number 3 is Avengers Endgame. God, what is there to say? There's so much. It's a very long film, and I remember the first time watching it, I did think this is a bit slow, and I still think that now. Like, the beginning is quite slow, but when you look at it for, like, as a whole movie, and you look at the film for what it does for the MCU and its purpose, it makes so much sense, and it gives all the characters so much development. We've never seen Black Widow, especially. I think it gives her loads of development, which then makes her death more emotional, I think. And yeah, I think it's not amusing, but looking at it now, it's quite like relatable considering our current situation. Yeah. So yeah, the beginning is quite slow, and I'll admit that. But as a whole, it doesn't take away anything, in my opinion. The one main gripe I had with it is I really like Thanos. I really started to like him in Infinity War. In some ways, I could relate to him. I even saw where he was coming from, even though his methods weren't the greatest. I understood his character, and I really liked him, and I felt like he did have a heart and everything. I don't like this version of Thanos because he is just like, I just want to kill them. And that disappointed me quite a lot because obviously we've had great build up for the characters in the other films, and it took a while for the MCU to get great villains, and I thought they'd finally started the streak of getting great villains in like Infinity War and then Vulture and Killmonger and all of them. So it's just a bit disappointing, and I felt like it was a bit of a step backwards for Thanos' character. But when I do consider it, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, were you disappointed when they killed Thanos within the first 5 minutes?
No, I liked that because I liked that Thanos and I thought he's ready to die. Like, that didn't disappoint me. It's the 2014 version of Thanos that is brought back, that is brought into the future that I didn't like.
See,
that's the version of Thanos that I don't like, because he just comes back and he's like, I'm just going to kill everyone.
With his double swords.
Oh, I mean, his swords and his fighting style is great, but I don't know why I just didn't like it as much, because you don't see much motivation. Like, I kind of see what he's saying, because he's seen himself killed and he's like, I'm going to kill you because, like, you're trying to reverse what I did, but it's not balanced. His whole purpose was developed as being about balance, but that's all just thrown out the window with the 2014 version of Thanos. So I was disappointed about that, and that was my main gripe with the movie. But that movie is an ending point for the Avengers. That's what it was there to be. So when I look at it in terms of what the movie was meant to be about, it did a phenomenal job. Like, it couldn't have done any better, in my opinion. And it does offer you everything. It gives you them comedy aspect, like the comedy aspects, but it also gives you the what's it called? The, like, God, I'm trying to think. The emotional stakes as well with the characters. It's got great action, and it's just hard to explain because it does feel a bit like there's three parts to this movie as well. You've got the beginning, which is the suffering of the characters and the understanding of what the world has become, and then the second act, it picks up a bit and the time travel is explained, and I love the trips back. I think that's great. Even though the explanation of time travel is a bit all over the place, just going back in time and all the little references, like that is America's arse, and when Steve beats himself by saying Bucky is alive, and when he says I can do this all day, and he's like, yeah, I know. I just think all of that is great. And I'm not a big Iron Man fan, but I think it's really nice to see him and his dad. Oh God, I'm going crazy on my list. Scrolling all the way down, leaning on my computer. But yeah, I think it's really nice to see him and Howard Stark together. I think all of that's great as well. So there's loads of great parts in the going back in time. Obviously, Black Widow and Hawkeye's bit isn't so great, but I think it really gives Jeremy Renner a chance to shine as Hawkeye. So I really liked his performance in that scene, and I did think it was a really sad scene. And I love the way they bring back Alan Silvestri's score from Infinity War, because that was an aspect of it I really liked. Like, I thought his score for the film was really good, especially in the death scene on, oh my God, what's it called? Let me just think. It's not Morag. Oh God,
which
that's
death scene are you on about?
the where the Soul Stone is. It's going to really wind me up if I don't get it.
I don't have a clue, but the other thing is, though, you're still calling him.
Sorry, it's called Vormir. Sorry, it's one of them things where I knew I would have to get it, because otherwise it would really wind me up. Yeah, it's called Vormir. That's what it's called.
But is Hawkeye still Hawkeye, or is he Huron?
Is he Ronan? See, he is Ronan in this movie, and I kind of wish he was Hawkeye because I prefer the bow and arrow, but it is what it is, and you don't see that much action with him anyway. It's more about the character development and connection to each other, I think. But obviously the bits of action.
Do you also think, though, that they're setting it up for his daughter to become the new Hawkeye? Because obviously you had that bow and arrow scene, didn't you?
Yeah,
with him and his daughter.
I did think that, but they're actually developing a Hawkeye TV series with Kate Bishop, and Kate Bishop isn't his daughter. So they've got Hailey Steinfeld in talks for that. Do you know the main actress in Bumblebee?
Yeah.
She's actually in talks to play Kate Bishop if the scheduling all works out and everything. So it won't be his daughter, it'll be Kate Bishop. But I think it's nice just to see like the things he's interested in. He tries getting his kids involved, but in a playful, friendly manner rather than being like, oh yeah, I'm an Avenger, you should be an Avenger too. And I think that makes sense that he'll train another girl because Kate Bishop is very adamant and she would end up going out and fighting on her own if Hawkeye didn't train her, which is why I think he'll be willing to train her because he thinks she's going to die if I don't train her. So she's got more of a chance when I train her, even though she could still die, at least she's got more of a chance. Whereas he doesn't want to get his daughter into that in the first place. He just doesn't want his daughter to be an Avenger full stop. Do you know what I mean? Because he knows the risks that come with it.
Yeah, no, it does all make sense. Being the parent,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want your parent, your daughter, to go into a battle and die.
Well,
So
exactly.
yeah, it's only natural, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so Endgame is such a hard one. And I mean, I've only spoken about the first two parts, but it's that third act. That third act, what can you say about it?
No fault.
No. I mean, I've seen little details that are like, that couldn't happen. Like, obviously, they're all talking to each other and none of them have earpieces in. So, how are they all talking to each other? But I'm too engrossed in the action. I'm immersed in it that I don't care about that. I really don't give a shit. Like, oh wow, they're talking to each other on the
See,
internet.
I didn't even think
Whatever.
about that.
Yeah, it's just a stupid little like thing. Like, it does make sense, like to point it out, but I don't care. There's people like flying about on a fucking Pegasus. I'm not going to be like, oh, they're all talking to each other. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just amazing. As soon as you see Captain America pick up that hammer, and I love it because Thor's like, I need
amazing
it.
scene.
Then obviously Avengers assemble when they all start coming through the portals, and Sam's the first one, and he says on your left when you think they're about to be defeated, and then you just hear on the left. Oh, I think I just can't say anything more. I can't express my excitement for it in words. I don't think it's so good.
Then
It's
also like the little Easter eggs they included in that scene where like everyone's coming through the portals because you saw. I want to say his name is Howard the Duck.
Howard the
Is
Duck,
that
yeah,
his
he's
name?
in there.
Because the other one was a really cool bit as a little Easter egg from the one in there.
Oh yeah, you've got all sorts of people in there. Howard the Duck's definitely in there, but there's all sorts of people, which is why it's great. I mean, it's a bit of a shame they're just battling like Thanos's people, and it's not a like emotional villain again. But the main battle is against Thanos, and yeah, just the whole scene it's just so good. It's all just amazing.
Did you like Fat Four? Because I thought that was very funny.
I really liked that, and not even just because of the comedy, because it is really funny, which is, but I don't think the fun, like the that is even the main part of it. Like him being funny, like that as a comedy aspect, I don't even think that's the main part of it. Can you hear the Hoover? Is that really loud, or is it okay?
It's not too loud. I'll say it's fine.
Okay. Sorry, you can still hear me though, can you?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're still clear.
good. Yeah, so it's a lot of people thought it was just in there to be comedy, but when you look at it, I think it's a lot more emotional than what it is comedy. I mean, he's lost his mum, he's lost his dad,
Yeah.
he's killed his sister, basically, he's lost his brother, he's lost his best friend. If you literally had nobody left in your life, and then you've got nobody left in your life, and then you've made a massive fuck up and not killed the person that has killed half the universe, which you could have prevented if you weren't being arrogant, how would you feel? I reckon I'd be an
You would
alcoholic.
be really
You'd
depressed,
either be an
wouldn't
alcoholic or a druggie, definitely.
you? Yeah.
So I think it's much more of a relatable, emotional thing rather than it just being there for comedy purposes. And it is really funny, but when people criticize it and they say, well, he's the god of thunder, this and that, that's a part that is developed in this. Like his mum says to him, like, nobody succeeds at being who they're meant to be. We only succeed at who we want to be. Because you can try and be like whoever you want, but if you don't enjoy that, then why would you want to be that person? Do you know what I mean? It's like the main purpose is to be happy, so don't try and live up to expectations. And I think that's what he learns in this movie, and I like that, and I think it is hilarious as well. And I'm happy he didn't get back to really good shape at the end of it. I think he should stay as Fat Thor. And then when he's found another purpose, that's when we see him get back to the Thor he was before. But like he says at the end of the film, he doesn't know what his purpose is. So if he doesn't know what his purpose, how can he work towards something? So I really enjoyed the Fat Thor. And he's still hard. He still puts up a good fight. And he looks cool, I think, when he gets his dreadlocks in. His beard's brilliant.
Oh yeah,
I think he looks really
that
cool.
was really cool. Oh, when you first see him, he's sitting in the house, and his friends are just playing Fortnite. He's just there in the corner with just a can of beer. And that was really cool.
And I think it's good to show he can put on weight and stuff like that as well. Like, he's a god, but
he's not perfect.
We can still relate to these characters because they're just like us. They still have feelings and their bodies still work similar. I mean, give or take like 1,000 years. They can live a lot longer than us. But yeah, I really like that element. I know a lot of people hated it. I didn't mind it. I didn't like it the first time really, but the more and more I watched it, I started to enjoy it a lot.
Oh, see, I really enjoyed it the first time I saw it.
I was just shocked, I think. But yeah, I was just shocked. But I really enjoyed it the first few times, and I was actually relating to him at some points more about his journey and like not knowing which path he was going down because I'd just finished college at the time when I saw it, or I was about to, and I didn't really know what I was going to do career wise. And I mean, I know it's stupid relating it to a Marvel movie, but when he was like, for once in my life, I don't know what I'm going to do, I was literally thinking, oh my god, I am literally Thor right now because I'm in the exact same position because I knew I didn't want to go to uni, so it was more like, what am I going to do now? And I really related to him in that moment. So that's quite amusing. But yeah, it's just a great overall film, I think, even though it's a bit slow. I think it needs that slowness, and that slowness actually helps the second two acts feel so good, like feel really fast paced and everything like that. And like I said, it gives you more emotion in them final scenes. I was never a big fan of Iron Man, and this movie is probably the only one that's made me actually like him.
See, loads of people cried for Iron Man in that one scene.
Yeah, even I did, and I've never liked him. I would say the only other thing that I find a bit frustrating is how they have a massive funeral for Tony Stark and they don't have one for Black Widow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess you can't.
They couldn't really have one as soon as she died, but why didn't they just have one with Tony Stark's? Like, do you know what I mean? They could have just done it afterwards.
Yeah, I guess what you mean, but would you really want to watch like two funerals at once? I don't know.
Why didn't they just do it together? Yeah, like, I would much prefer her to have a funeral than to just be like, oh yeah, she died. Forgot about that. Like,
but then again, Tony Stark's death though was a much more important, impactful death than Black Widow. Yes, without Black Widow, you never got that stone. But I just think Iron Man was a very much more impactful death.
See, I completely disagree because I was more upset when Natasha dies. Like, I don't know, no, maybe not because he's got a kid, but like, I disagree because I think, like, without her, the team wouldn't have been as strong as what they were. Like, she helps bring them together a lot. Because if you think about it,
she's the backbone.
Yeah, because if you think about it, Tony Stark and Captain America hate each other in the first film. They hate each other, and they do in Civil War. And I feel like she's kind of the one that speaks to them from both sides and explains it on part of each other. That's how I feel anyway. but yeah, it's just difference of opinion. I think they're both emotional and they're both just as integral to the Avengers. Yeah. I mean, I know
I mean,
he puts the plot in
yeah.
place to travel back in time, but at the end of the day, if she didn't sacrifice herself, then he wouldn't have even been able to sacrifice himself in the first place. So
But ask yourself this question:
piss off,
would
Tony,
you?
because you needed her to do that. So
Yeah, but would you prefer Black Widow sacrifice herself, or would you prefer Hawkeye to sacrifice himself? Because they were obviously fighting each
well, I
other to
think
be the
that's why I got
sacrifice.
so emotional in that scene, and that's why I loved how the played the action in that, because it was actually I started crying because I thought Hawkeye was gonna die, and then she caught him, and I was like, oh my god, the tables have turned here. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I would have hated it if Hawkeye died, but I didn't like Black Widow dying either. But I think she needed it. But I
Do
am
you reckon? Yeah, do you reckon they'll bring her back? Because obviously they still need
no.
to bring back Gamora, don't they?
No, I don't think they'll bring her back. I don't think they should. I'm looking forward to a solo movie. I'm really excited for it, but I don't want them to bring her back. I want them to set up Yelena Belova as another Black Widow, and she can be the future Black Widow. I don't want Scarlett Johansson's Natasha Romanoff back. I love Scarlett Johansson, but I don't want her back. Because
Fair enough.
it's like bringing Iron Man back. It just takes away the stakes of what's actually happened.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it wouldn't be as impactful as if they did bring them back. But then again, if it's like they bring them back in like another 10 years, because there could be like another 10 films by then, or another 6 or 5, or
True.
however many they'll make, I think it'd be good, but at the same time, it'd be still a bit less impactful of what happened at Endgame, if
I
you
don't
know
think
what I
they'll do
mean.
it because I think they've done it too many times and it's been a massive complaint too many times in the MCU. So I don't think they'll do it. And they want to introduce new people. Like we feel about these characters so strong because we've been building them up for 10 years. But they can do
Yep.
that with a new generation of people, and we'll feel about them people how we feel about these in a few years' time. Um,
Yeah.
so it's exactly the same principle, really. Um, yeah, but I've wait. Should we move on now to number two? And it will be my
Yeah.
turn, won't it? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be.
Okay. So at number two, I've got Captain America Civil War. Um, I was so surprised at how high it was on your list. For me, this is just so rewatchable. It's the rewatchability of this film that really gets me. It's honestly like it just goes so quickly. I feel like I'm watching it for 5 minutes and it's been on for like 2.5 hours. Um, just scene after scene. I don't find any of the scenes boring. Like even Peggy's funeral scene, I found that interesting. I didn't find that boring because it really motivates Steve. And then the conversation with Steve and Black Widow after, I thought that bit was great. Um, it opens up with like a great action scene, obviously. Um, I like the beginning with Winter Soldier because it shows straight away that he's going to play quite a big part in it. It's going to be different to the comics a little bit. And then obviously you've got even the bit where Thunderbolt Ross comes back. I liked that, seeing him again, and how he's part of the government and stuff. Um, and yeah, even when they're explaining the Sokovia Accords, I found all of that really interesting. And seeing why everybody sides with who they side on, even though it's slow, it's not like big action. They're all sat down together, speaking as friends, and you can see where all of their points are coming from. And then, like I said, the Peggy Carter funeral scene because it inspires Captain America. And then obviously you've got the great scenes like you've got the airport battle scene, which I would say is one of the best in the MCU. But not even that, like
Really?
that. Oh yeah, I think it's an amazing scene. I can't believe you don't think it's one. Do you not think it's one of the best?
I don't think it's one of the best. No, but then again, like I said, like in the last video, I was just too disappointed.
I can't believe that, but I think it's definitely one of the best. I love the way everyone comes into it. I love it when they're running in together. They introduced Spider-Man and Black Panther like quickly and concisely. It was it was efficient.
That was really good.
Yeah, you got to know who them characters were. When Juggle and loads of other characters. They brought Ant-Man in perfectly. They introduced the Giant Man aspect to it. I know you didn't like that, but they developed the Wanda and Vision relationship a bit more, and where like Wanda's power comes from a little bit. I just thought it's all amazing. It just moves so quickly. Not even the airport battle scene, but then before that, you've got when Steve finds Bucky in Bucharest, and is it Bucharest? And they're chasing the Winter Soldier down. That's a great scene. Obviously, that's the introduction to Black Panther as well. That's another amazing scene where you've got that mix of hand-to-hand combat again with the Russo brothers directing their hand-to-hand style choreography. And it shows that they can do hand-to-hand choreography for the more grounded characters like your Captain Americas and all that, but then they can also do the powers with like Giant Man, Vision, Iron Man. They can do all of that. Yeah, I just love it. And obviously the airport battle scene, I think that's phenomenal. But then you've also got the end battle scene, which is just complete emotion. It's still a good battle scene. The fighting isn't great in it, but it's just all based on emotion. Like Tony's trying to kill Cap's best friend, and Cap's like, I'm not going to let you kill my best friend. But then he's also thinking, but Tony's one of my really good mates and I can't kill him. So it's just such an emotional fight.
That also was a really cool scene because Bucky and Cap are just throwing the shield at Iron Man. They keep on swapping and catching the shields.
Yeah.
You can't fault that. That is a really cool scene.
It's a great scene. So it's got your big action, which is less impactful, and then you've got the really impactful, emotional-driven ones, character-driven. And then, as well as that, you've got Baron Zemo, who I thought was actually a really good villain because he's just a human. And I like showing how humans can be really resourceful and impactful. The same with Hawkeye and Black Widow. They are such integral members of the Avengers, and they get underlooked because they're humans, and that frustrates me a bit. And Baron Zemo, you understand where he's coming from. Like, his family has been killed, his whole family. That's really sad, and it is because they just do collateral damage, which is so true. Like, they did destroy Sokovia.
The city.
And then they did just leave. They probably left it for somebody else to clean it up, without any care in the world. So you've got Baron Zemo reinforcing that, and then obviously you've got the woman at the beginning saying it to Iron Man, which upsets him. And I understand both points. I was on Cap's team, because I prefer him as a character, but I completely understand where Iron
Man's coming from.
And that's why I like it more than the comics, because in the comics, Iron Man is painted more just as the villain. Whereas in the film, you can see it from both points of view. I personally agreed. I was Team Cap. I agreed with him. It's probably because I preferred the characters a little bit more. But I can see where they're both coming from. And I just think overall, like, I can never really find any faults in the movie. In fact, I don't think I can find any fault in it. I'm trying to think. Nah, I love it all. I enjoyed every minute of it. So that's why it's so high on my list. I mean, I know it was low on your list and you explained that, but that's why it's so high on my list. So you can hit me with your number 2 now.
My number 2 is Avengers Endgame.
Right, okay. I spoke quite a lot about Endgame, about everything I loved about it, but I assume you've got a few more points that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just need to think hard about them now because you did say a hell of a lot of them. One of the scenes that comes to me is another scene with Hulk and what's her name? I know, right? Doctor Strange. What was his master called?
Oh, the ancient one.
The Asian one. That's it. How could I forget her name? I was just laughing at that scene how Banner Hulk goes back in time and he meets the ancient one, and she's just like defending the house against the monsters in the first Avengers. I thought that was a really cool tie back, and it ties it in well in the storyline. I just really enjoyed that bit. What else did I enjoy?
On that bit though, I actually really like it how I think it's really funny how you see Bruce Banner be like a bit cocky. Like she's
Yeah.
like, I'm afraid I can't do that. And he's like saying, oh, I'm not asking. And then he's like being a bit cocky. And then she's just like, oh, shut up, mate. And like knocks him out into the astral plane.
Yeah.
Like into his astral.
That
I
was
thought that
really
was quite
cool.
funny seeing that little cockiness. Because in the Professor Hulk persona, he is a bit more cocky. Like when he does the dab and he's like, yeah, let's take a photo. I think he is a bit more cocky. So I think it fits in. And I like seeing that. But then he's also very understanding. Like when she's explaining the branch reality, he's like, I promise you, I will return them. We'll get them back. And she's like, I'm counting on you. And you can see he's really serious. So that is really good. But sorry, you're moving on to another point there before I interrupted.
There's one point that I did not really enjoy, and that is to do with the way that they brought Ant-Man back. I'm sorry, yes, it's possible that a rat could pull and leave and then he will come back. I just really did not enjoy that. I would have preferred it if someone tracked down his fan somehow and then he saw the machine is still on and then he pulls the lever to bring Ant-Man back. I would have preferred something like that. It's just instead of just how lucky it was that a rat just, it was either the rat falling onto the lever or he knocked something onto the lever to bring him back. And then but that did bring a really cool scene when Ant-Man is running through the streets. The streets are really empty. He's seen what Thanos has done. Half the people are gone. And then he knocks on this old house and he sees his daughter has grown a couple of years. That was a really cool scene because I enjoyed how they showed the world after Thanos did Infinity Snap and how everyone is depressed.
Yeah.
And then going on from that, at the very ending, when he brought everyone back, they're like fighting over houses. Like I had this house and then a new couple's moved in. Like what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, because that's talked about a bit in Far From Home, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
When Aunt May mentions being a widow or something along them lines. Yeah, I get what you mean. I do agree. It's one of them things, and again, I'm going to say suspension of disbelief, but that one is a bit far-fetched. But I mean, it doesn't really take away from there's little things that could take away from the movie as a whole, but when you think about the wider aspects of the movie and what it really is, they're like nitpicky type things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they are very nitpicky things.
Yeah, but it's so hard because the films are so good that picking out elements that are actual like criticisms is very hard to do because the films are so good. So yeah, I do definitely agree with you on that one though about the rat because that wound up a lot of people, I think.
Another really cool scene I remember is when they throw this is the very ending battle. They just throw the glove to Spider-Man. Spider-Man activates kill mode. Then he just starts killing all these monsters, and then he gets overwhelmed. And Captain Marvel just flies in and says, "I think he said, do you need a hand or something?" And Peter Parker just there like shivering because like he just got bungled by all these by these enemies, and then it kind of turned into girl power mode, where all the female superheroes all joined in to say, "We'll help you, Captain Marvel." I mean, that bit was a really cool scene, and I think it opens up for a all-female superhero movie in the future.
Right. Okay. See, I'm completely the opposite opinion. I didn't like that scene at all.
Did you not?
No, I hated it. That's one thing I really dislike because I just thought it's not necessary. Like, why does it matter? I'm sorry, but does it matter if you're a girl or a woman or a man? I just think on an Avengers team, you want the best Avengers. Doesn't matter if you've got a penis or a vagina. You want the best, or whatever Vision's got because he's a robot. Like, I don't care. You want the best. You want the best powers on there. So in my opinion, it really doesn't matter. I just thought it was unnecessary. Like, I'm not all big on the feminism and when it's forced, and I felt like that scene was forced because, like, how were all the women somehow behind Captain Marvel at that point? I mean, that's nitpicky, but it's just like, I didn't think it needed to happen because at the end of the day, Captain Marvel just flies over anyway, so she's not even fighting with them. I just thought it was unnecessary.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it would have been
That bit
part,
was
like,
strange to me.
they didn't do a bit where they were like, Black Panther gets like needs help, and then all the Wakandans and like anybody who's black is like, it's okay, he's got help. Like, it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought it was a bit unnecessary, because at the end of the day, she shouldn't even fucking need help. So
Mm.
the only part I like about it is that it's Okoye who like starts delivering the line. That's the only bit, because I like Okoye's accent. But other than that, I wasn't a fan of that bit, because I felt like it was forced, and when it happened, I just thought I just didn't need that to happen. But yeah, it's good that you liked it though. Again, it's completely different opinions, and this is what I love about it being so subjective, because your like beliefs in real life can like influence your things, and things you've experienced in your life as well can really influence how you view a film. So I'm happy you've said that, because I know it is a mixed bag. Some people love that scene and a lot of people don't like it. So I'm actually glad you've said you liked it, because we can both share our opinions on why I didn't like it and why you did like it.
Mm. Did you
Yeah,
also think, though, go on to a different bit of the plot, did you think Captain America was being selfish, was staying back in time, and then obviously being old and passing on the shield to Falcon? Or do you reckon he done the right thing for himself?
I do see what you mean. It is kind of selfish in some ways, but then at the end of the day, what does he owe the country? What's the country ever done for him other than like betray him? Because it hasn't done anything for him.
No, it hasn't, but as he's like, obviously gone back in the time, and this is all time travel paradox and stuff like this, is from the timeline in the past, is he still going to be in the first Avengers? Is his role in all the other films stay the same, or is it going to change now in future film?
Well, I think it's in the 50s when he's with Peggy. So is it the 50s though? What storm was he going to put back? I don't know. I think it was the 50s. So what he's obviously been turned into Captain America and maybe fought the First World War, I think, and then he's gone to be with her. That's what I think's happened anyway. And you never know, we might see in the future that he's still been Captain America throughout them years. He just hasn't been it on a team.
It would be really cool to see, like, if him in World War II and he meets up with Wolverine and there's the whole Captain America and Wolverine duo. That could be really good.
Yeah, and it's just like, just because he's with Peggy Carter doesn't mean he can't be Captain America, because she's one of the ones who probably really wants him to be Captain America. So just because he's not in the future and on the team, that doesn't mean the world's unprotected now.
And Peggy Carter's also a founder of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, yeah, she was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., wasn't she? And him being with her, that could have prevented Hydra stuff in the future, because she was one of the heads and founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. But if he knew that in the future that was going to happen, he could have helped prevent it.
But would he, though? Because when he affect the time change, then he could, in fact, bring Thanos back to get all the stones again. But this is sort of like paradox talk now, ain't it?
Yeah,
like, what if this, what if that?
It's all too hard. That's the thing. I personally don't think he was selfish, though. I think he doesn't owe the country anything. It's never given anything back to him other than suffering, really. So it's time for him to owe himself something and do something that he wants. That's what I think.
And give himself a family, because then he said he had a family with her? Or am I just making things up now?
You don't see. You don't know, because he doesn't explain to Sam either. So you never find that out, unfortunately. But, you know, if it stays hidden, it stays hidden. It's just one of them things, I think. It's quite nice it stays hidden as well, I think, because then you don't know. He could have still been Captain America, and we don't know that. Or he could have settled down and got a family instead. So it's quite interesting to see. We might see it in, like, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see it, but I like the mysterious aspect, because that means fans can make their own stories and decide what they want to happen in their own head.
Yeah, that's it.
But we've got a bit of a like thing here again, because obviously we need to do number 3 and number 2. So my number 2 was Civil War, so we're going to have to debate between Endgame and Civil War. What is the better movie?
I say it's got to be Endgame because it finished the whole trilogy of the whole films.
Yeah, see, I understand that, but I actually think it should be Civil War because if we're looking at them as individual films, in my opinion, Civil War is a better movie.
Because it flows better instead of having like Act 1 and Endgame maybe very long and then where in Civil War it just all flows nicely.
And the reason Endgame feels so good is because it's had loads of build up in the past. I mean, I know it's similar with Civil War. It's so hard. I just think I think Civil War's a little bit more rewatchable, in my opinion.
So you think Civil War should be number 2 and Endgame should be number 3?
Yeah.
I mean, number 3 is still high up, very high up. So yeah, let's say Civil War will be number 2.
Yeah, okay, so Avengers Endgame comes in at number 3 then. And then number 2, Captain America Civil War. So I think that means obviously we've both got the same number 1, which is going to be number 1 on our list, which is Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Okay, so you can go first. Why? Why is it number 1?
I really enjoy the opening scene with oh, is it the opening scene actually when they're on the spaceship? Thanos obviously teleports onto Thor's Ragnarok spaceship, and it's just breaking the whole thing apart. And then Thor's like, "Oh, watch out, we've got Hulk." And then Hulk just comes in and starts bashing up at Thanos, and Hulk saying, "Yeah, I'm winning this. I'm beating up at Thanos." And then one of Thanos' minions just holds back. Another one of his mates said, "No, let Thanos have his fun." And Thanos just turns to a badass and starts beating up the Hulk like he's a little kid. And then the Hulk becomes terrified of Thanos. I just really enjoyed that scene. And then Loki sacrifices himself for Thor as well. So Thor is all sad because he's just been defeated after what just happened after Ragnarok. And then Thor's character in this film, he has a incredible storyline as well, I think, from how his hammer breaks and how he goes and finds the dwarf to get Stormbreaker, and Groot chops off his own arm for it to be the handle. It's just a really, really brilliant film.
Yeah, it's one of those where it starts and it doesn't stop moving.
Yeah.
There's no point. Same with Civil War. There's no point in it where I'm like, this is boring. And every minute, because you're focusing on so many different storylines, like you've got the Captain America team to begin with, and then you've got Wanda and Vision. They're separate, but then obviously they join up. Then you've got the bit in Wakanda. Then you've got the Guardians team, but then even they split up because some of them go to nowhere to get the Reality Stone, and then Thor, Rocket, and Groot, they're off on a side mission. It's just like there's so many points in the movie when I'm rewatching it where I'm like, oh, this bit's about to happen. And then I'm like, oh my God, no, this bit comes before. And it excites me even more. I'm like, I forgot this bit happened, but now I've remembered it. I'm so excited to see that bit. It's just action after action. I think the action's really good. And it doesn't come like the really quick moving story and jumping around doesn't come at the expense of character development. Like they don't get loads of character development, don't get me wrong, but Thanos does. Thanos gets great character development. And even though he's the villain, is he really the villain? Because I would say he's the protagonist of the movie. He gets the most screen time. It's basically Thanos' story, but he is a villain. So it's great to see that different take on it. And like I said, yeah, once it gets going, it just doesn't stop moving. There's so many great scenes in it. The introduction to each of the teams is amazing. Like,
yeah,
I like the
say now.
introduction to Wanda and Vision, even though I'm not into the lovey-dovey stuff, I hate that. It shows that they're trying to settle down. And then that scene where Captain America comes in because she throws the
the music in that bit's so amazing.
And then she throws the thing and you don't see him. He comes out the shadow and then the music is in the da-na-na, da-na-na. Oh, it's so good. Like when the music hits up, and then Black Widow like slides in on her knees and he throws it to her, and they're battling, and then Falcon flies in. It's just an amazing scene. So there's that scene, and then you've got the introduction to the Guardians with Rubber Band Man playing, and I like seeing how they're all really into the music, and how they've still got that comedy aspect where they want to. Star-Lord says, hopefully we can get a bit of cheddar cheese, like get a bit of money, and then they realise obviously it's all whatever's happened to Thor and his friend, it's all gone to shit. And then Thor and Star-Lord's interaction is hilarious. And then even they go off on their side mission. And yeah, it just, all the scenes are good. It just doesn't stop moving. The only thing I didn't like the first time I saw it, funnily enough, which is one of my favourite elements to it now, I didn't like the Gamora death scene to begin with. And now it's literally like one of my favourite moments of the movie. The score by
I still find it slow.
It is slow, but it's so good. Like the bit where he grabs her and she's like, "This isn't love," and then he just chucks her off. And the score by
and he lifts a tear.
The score, that's really good. And then the end bit where he actually dusts them, that was such a shock. I mean, I knew a lot of them were coming back, but it was just such a shock. I just can't say enough good about it. It's just so rewatchable, and it's got my favourite scene in the whole of the MCU. The part, oh my god, I can't even talk about it. It's so good. When they're starting to get beat in Wakanda, and then all of a sudden, the Rainbow Bridge teleports them down, or like Stormbreaker teleports them, and you see the hammer flying, but it's when he grabs the hammer and the music kicks in. Oh, it's so good. Like, it's just an amazing scene. You can't beat that. Like that, I prefer that over Avengers Assemble, over Cap picking up Mjolnir by far. I just like that scene far more. It's just a great film. It's just a great film. I'll have to let you talk about it for a bit because I'll just go on forever.
To continue on from that scene, I really enjoyed the bit where Steve Rogers and Thor just like catching up with each other. It's like, I see you,
so
yeah. I see you cobbing my beard, and then I am Groot as well. That bit is just gold.
I am Steve Rogers. Yeah, that's great.
And then I really enjoyed going off into a different scene where Spider-Man and Iron Man are working together to take out I wasn't feeling his name, where he's got Doctor Strange all tied up. He's that's it.
Yes.
Squidward. Yeah, it looks like Squidward.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed the little Spider-Man quotes from like all different like pop culture references. Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
And that bit, I thought that bit was just when he meets Star-Lord and they're talking about pop culture references, and he's talking about he's like in Footloose, and he's like, "Oh, is this still the greatest movie on earth?" And he's like, "It never was." And he gets so like Star-Lord is so offended, and I just love him and Tony Stark interacting as well. Like Tony Stark's face is so funny, like when he's basically like, well, I'm half human, and that dumb part of me, that is 100% you. And Tony Stark is like, your math is blowing my mind. And then even the bit where he's like, I'm breaking it down over here, and he's over there yawning, and he's like, yeah, well, kind of not winging it is like not really what we do. And when Spider-Man's like, what is it they do? And Mantis says, what did she say? Kick names and take arse instead of kick arse and take names. I just think, just all of it is so good. All the interactions, it's just so good. Is there any other moments in it that really stand out to you? Because for me, I find it hard to pick out key moments. I would say the introduction to when you get Black Widow, Captain America, when they get introduced, that's a great moment. An amazing moment. The bit in Wakanda, just when they're battling, I like it when Scarlet Witch comes out and shows how powerful she is. And then
I was about to say that because she's like, why was she not down there this whole time?
Yeah. Then you've got the snap, and also like Thor's entrance, which I absolutely love. I mean, the whole movie's good, but I'd say they're the moments that I really, really enjoy. So, and also, yeah, the Hulk and Thanos fight at the beginning. I love the way Thanos fights. Like, he even knees him in the face. I was like, that is amazing. It's like proper, like, fighting style, like MMA right now.
Hmm.
But do you have any other moments that you really, really stood out to you?
I really enjoyed the bit when it was Doctor Strange versus Thanos because he just shows how strong of a sorcerer he actually is, like going toe to toe with all his power stones. And that
Yeah,
was a really cool scene because for Thanos had to say, "Oh, so you're the new master of sorcery." It was something like that. I just really enjoyed that, and that whole fight scene as well was really cool because it showed off how far Iron Man's suit has actually come with all his new technology and Thanos actually recognised Tony Stark saying, "I will remember your name. You are a worthy warrior." That was just a really cool bit as well.
yeah. And this is actually the film where I started to like Doctor Strange because before it, I wasn't a massive fan. And they really developed him in this one. Um, it's just such a good film, and I think that
Mm.
shows why it's number one on both of our lists because it is just a great film. Um, but before we wrap it up, do you want to say anything else about the film?
Um, I think I'll save some points for you to mention.
What you're gonna say?
So,
Yeah. Sorry, carry
now,
on.
yeah, I'm not going to say no more, I think.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't say
done.
anymore. Like I've pointed out my key points. I just think it's just the best. It's so hard to put into words how good it is. It just all I'll say is it's got great action, great characters. It starts and it just doesn't stop. And yeah, it just leaves you with like your foot in the mouth at the end, like
Mm.
speechless. Even now when I watch it, and I've seen it multiple times, like I saw it 12 times at the cinema. Even now when I watch it, it's still like I still don't know what to think at the end of it. Yeah, it's just a phenomenal film. And I can't say anything more about it really. But before we do wrap up, sorry, I do just want both of us to go through our individual lists, like our whole ranking from 23 down to number one, and then I will talk through our joint list, and then yeah, that will wrap up our MCU ranking video. So I'll let you go first if you want to go through your whole list from number 23 all the way down to your number one.
Right. So, my entire list, it is start off with the Hulk, then Thor, Thor 2, Iron Man 2, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man, Black Panther, Captain America, Doctor Strange, Captain America 2, Spider-Man 2, Iron Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Civil War, Spider-Man 1, Iron Man, Avengers 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, Thor Ragnarok, Endgame, and Infinity War.
Perfect. Right, I'll go through mine. So mine is as follows: The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Iron Man 2, Thor the First Thor, Captain America the First Avenger, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Spider-Man Far From Home, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Spider-Man Homecoming, Iron Man, Black Panther, the original Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, Endgame, Captain America Civil War, and finally Avengers Infinity War. I'll go through our joint ranking now. And I must admit, I'm actually quite happy with the joint ranking. I mean, obviously, there's a few things that I would actually no, I don't think there is a few things that I'd move around. I'm quite happy with our joint ranking, I must admit. So I'll go through that now. So we've got number 23, The Incredible Hulk. Number 22, Thor: The Dark World. Number 21, Iron Man 2. Number 20, Thor. Number 19, Captain America, the First Avenger. Number 18, Captain Marvel. Number 17, Doctor Strange. Number 16, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Number 15, Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 14, Iron Man 3. Number 13, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Number 12, Black Panther. Number 11, Iron Man. Number 10, Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 9, Ant-Man. Number 8, Avengers Age of Ultron. Number 7, Captain America the Winter Soldier. Number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 5, The Avengers. Number 4, Thor Ragnarok. I almost said number Thor. Number 3, Avengers Endgame. Number 2, Captain America Civil War. And number 1, Infinity War. Yeah, so that is it really. I really enjoyed ranking all of these. I mean, it took a lot of time, but I've really enjoyed it, and I'm happy with our joint list. And I do think I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch the films again, and my ranking will definitely change quite a lot, I should imagine.
Yeah, because all of this is from memory, ain't it?
Yeah, all of this is from memory, yeah, because I haven't seen them for quite a while now, so it's all based on memory. Yeah, so I definitely think it's going to be changing after seeing it and after experiencing a bit more of life, because even little things in your life can really influence your opinions of films, I feel like. But yeah, that's the end of the ranking list. So thanks everyone for listening yet again, and I'd love to hear me and Dean would both love to hear your comments and thoughts on our list, and share your lists as well. We'd love to discuss them with you. Hi guys, it's Bridie. Thanks for watching the video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to receive any updates on new videos I've got coming out.